A próxima música ela ela foi composta pelo próprio, a letra, né? Foi escrita pelo próprio Friedrich Schiller, que eu falei antes, da relação do homem e da música do céu. Ele escreveu um texto que se chama Ode à Alegria, em português, e Beethoven utilizou esta letra na sua última sinfonia. É a primeira vez que ela usa a voz. Foi no quarto movimento, né, da nona de Beethoven, um significado central é a exaltação da fraternidade, da união universal entre os seres humanos e da esperança em tempos de guerra e divisão. Obrigado. A gente vai terminar. Deixa eu ver o tema aqui, porque nós temos que explicar. A gente vai querer um tema. Duas peças de Ari Barroso. Ari Barroso foi um campanista assim, de 30, eufemismos trazendo assim a grandeza do país, a riqueza do país, as maravilhas, enfim. Quando ele compõe essas duas músicas, Isso Aqui o que é, e Aquarela do Brasil, que a gente vai fazer uma colagem, uma e a outra, é o nascimento do samba exaltação, um estilo criado para celebrar os orgulhos, as belezas naturais, a alegria do povo, a mistura de raças e a riqueza cultural do país. Então, de Ari Barroso, Isso Aqui o que é, e Aquarela do Brasil.
Isso aqui é um pouquinho de Brasília, de Brasil que não é feliz, feliz, feliz. E não tem medo de fumaça, e não se tem. Nosso Senhor, Brasil, Brasil, Brasil. Pelos os refletidos
procura pesquisar músicas novas, tem compositores muito interessantes. E eu quero agradecer, em nome do coro, a todos vocês que ouvem e dão significado e valor ao que a gente faz como coro. Muito obrigado.
Senhores, boa noite. Agradecemos a recepção musical realizada pelo coro da UFRGS, sob a regência do maestro Renato Filippini. Uma salva de palmas.
Senhoras e senhores, bem-vindos ao Unidos Teatro. Atendo às normas
Sejam todos bem-vindos ao evento Mentes Globais e Cidades Sustentáveis, integrante da programação da International Week 2026, organizado pelas áreas do Conhecimento das Ciências Sociais e das Exatas e Engenharias da Universidade de Caxias do Sul. Informamos que as inscrições para o evento de hoje ainda podem ser realizadas para registro de presença ao final da palestra. Também informamos que há tradutores simultâneos disponíveis na recepção do bloco para a palestra, que será em inglês. Registramos e agradecemos a presença das autoridades. Magnífico reitor da Universidade de Caxias do Sul, professor doutor Asdrubal, Falavigna, chefe de gabinete da U, diretora da Área do Conhecimento de Ciências Exatas e Engenharias, professora mestra Michele, Otobelli, Berteli, o painelista convidado, doutor Simone Cresti, e os mediadores, professora doutora Cristina Fachinelli e professor doutor Rafael Perini. Demais diretores de área, campi, institutos, gerentes e gestores administrativos, coordenadores, professores e funcionários dessa instituição, demais autoridades civis presentes ou representadas, alunos, senhoras e senhores. Comunicamos que o evento está sendo transmitido pelo canal da UFPlay no YouTube e acompanhado pelos demais campi da Universidade de Caxias do Sul. A International Week 2026, que tem como tema Building Bridges Between Cultures, propõe a construção de pontes entre culturas, por meio de experiências que estimulam o diálogo, a interação e a troca de conhecimentos. A programação reúne cultura, conhecimento e experiências de diferentes áreas por meio de oficinas, experiências gastronômicas, apresentações musicais, aulas abertas de línguas estrangeiras, visitas guiadas, workshops interculturais e palestras com representantes diplomáticos e convidados internacionais. A programação completa e demais informações estão disponíveis no site da U. Para iniciar a programação desta noite, teremos agora uma participação do Cônsul-Geral dos Estados Unidos da América em Porto Alegre, senhor Jason Green, que não pôde estar presente conosco nesta noite, mas nos encaminhou uma mensagem para integrar a programação do evento.
Consulate in Porto Alegre. As a diplomat, I've served in Tel Aviv, Israel, Johannesburg, South Africa, Washington, D.C., Karachi, Pakistan, Kabul, Afghanistan, Sao Paulo, and Porto Alegre. And throughout my career, which has been mostly as a public affairs officer, I've had the privilege of being able to recruit and facilitate educational exchanges across these very dynamic and different cultures. And I have many, many examples of success stories of students across these countries who have gone on scholarships through EdUSA or gone through other intercambios to the United States and come back and made dramatic change in their countries. The one off the top of my head that I can think of is in South Africa. I recruited for the first Black female to be an entertainment executive in the predominantly white entertainment industry in South Africa. So these kind of examples were very fulfilling for me especially considering that I had my own experience as an exchange student at the University of Cambridge in the UK, where I studied international entertainment law before completing my studies at law school. I'd say of all of these diverse cultures, the one that was the most surprising for me and different for me was when I was the cultural affairs officer in Kabul, Afghanistan, where a vast majority of Afghans had never had an opportunity to leave Afghanistan. And so I was able to work with student populations across the country in rural areas, with poor students, with a variety of different subcultures in Afghanistan, to get them the opportunity to study in the United States. And this is something that had never even crossed their mind until they met with me and my team at the embassy. One of the most incredible experiences I had recruiting for students for educational exchanges was in Pakistan. There was the largest, like a favela in Karachi, and these people in this favela, they didn't have any opportunities for anything. Almost everyone didn't have a job. It was a very poor area. But I was able to go into that favela and recruit students who were really smart but didn't have any kind of opportunity and get them scholarships to go to the US. And I'm still in touch with them, and they're doing incredible stuff back in their favela. And I see this kind of impact here in the Gaucho community, because the Gaucho community is so prepared to go to the United States to study, because the educational system here is quite strong. And to meet with the Gaucho youth here, it's been an incredible experience for me to see that they have so much to offer in these exchanges. I'm sorry I can't be here with you in person, but I'm glad we had this opportunity for me to speak to you about my experience. And I hope that it inspires you a little bit to explore other cultures and to apply for intercambios to get yourselves out there and experience these incredible other cultures like I've been fortunate enough to do in the last 17 years. Muito obrigado. Boa noite.
A diretora da área do Conhecimento de Ciências Exatas, Engenharias, professora Michele Otobelli, Berteli.
Boa noite a todos. Quero iniciar cumprimentando o nosso magnífico reitor, professor doutor Asdrubal Falavigna. E, em nome dele, cumprimento mais autoridades acadêmicas e civis citadas no protocolo, nossos professores, funcionários e estudantes. É uma grande satisfação, em nome das áreas de Ciências Sociais e Ciências Exatas e Engenharia, dar as boas-vindas a todos a este encontro da International Week. A internacionalização para uma universidade vai muito além da possibilidade de conhecer outros países. Ela representa a oportunidade de ampliar perspectivas, estabelecer conexões, compartilhar conhecimento e compreender que os grandes desafios do nosso tempo não se limitam às fronteiras de uma cidade, de um país ou de uma área de conhecimento. E o tema desta noite, Mentes Globais e Cidades Sustentáveis, traduz muito bem esse propósito. Construir cidades mais sustentáveis exige conhecimento, inovação, políticas públicas, responsabilidade social e, sobretudo, diálogo entre diferentes culturas, experiências e saberes. É justamente esse diálogo que teremos a oportunidade de vivenciar hoje, com a contribuição dos nossos ilustres convidados, trazendo experiências e reflexões sobre sustentabilidade, cidade e desenvolvimento. Que esta noite nos inspire a olhar para as nossas cidades e para a nossa universidade com uma perspectiva cada vez mais global, reconhecendo que formar profissionais e cidadãos preparados para o futuro também significa prepará-los para aprender com o mundo e para contribuir com ele. Desejamos a todos um excelente evento. Muito obrigada e sejam bem-vindos.
Convidamos o reitor, professor Asdrubal Falavigna, para a sua saudação.
noite. Eu gostaria de iniciar saudando a diretora da Área de Conhecimento de Ciências Exatas, a professora Michele, Otobelli, Berteli. Saudar também o chefe de gabinete, o professor Giovanni Gardet, o representante da Câmara de Indústria e Comércio, o diretor do Meio Ambiente, o senhor Eduardo Chissini. Saudar os principais atores da noite, o doutor Simone Cresti, da Itália, a professora Fachinelli, que vai fazer a coordenação, juntamente com o professor Rafael Perini. Saudar todos os diretores, coordenadores, principalmente os estudantes que estão aqui, professores e estudantes que estão atualmente agora online, nos olhando através dos inúmeros campos que essa universidade tem. Eu posso dizer para vocês que o International Week já atingiu o seu objetivo, que é transformar pessoas e ambientes. Eu vi nesses dias muitos professores e alunos que mostraram seus talentos e habilidades em inúmeras atividades, e eles também me transformaram, porque eu fiquei cada vez mais grato e feliz de pertencer a esta universidade. Eu não tenho nenhuma dúvida da grandeza da Universidade de Caxias do Sul e sua capacidade de formação de pessoas, inovação e pesquisa. Me perguntaram até onde podia chegar essa universidade. Essa universidade ela pode chegar não somente até onde seus prédios alcançam, ou seus alunos se colocam, mas principalmente ela chega aonde chegam suas conexões. Por isso o lema dessa International Week, Building the Bridges, as pontes que aproximam pontos distantes e permitem encontros. Não tenho dúvida que são essas conexões que mantêm o sucesso pessoal e profissional. Todos nós sabemos que internacionalização não é opção de nenhuma universidade com essa grandeza, ela é mandatória, é uma regra, para que todos vocês, estudantes, possam ter uma vida de mais sucesso. Essa Universidade de Caxias do Sul, ela tem suas raízes na comunidade, e essas raízes na comunidade é que nutre essa universidade, permite que ela cresça. São raízes, não são âncoras na comunidade, mas ela não impõe nenhum limite para o futuro. Nós, professores, sabemos que internacionalização não é simplesmente atravessar fronteiras, mas sim derrubar as fronteiras. E espero dizer que as pessoas, quando saem, elas sempre voltam diferente. Qualquer pessoa que tiverem a oportunidade de fazer, não percam essa oportunidade. A Universidade de Caxias do Sul já tem internacionalização, que é um dos mais antigos no Rio Grande do Sul, 30 anos, e se você tiver essa oportunidade, abrace essa oportunidade com toda a força, porque tenho certeza que vai transformar o jeito de vocês pensar, o jeito de vocês ver, porque essa mudança de cultura e se encontrar com outras pessoas que têm é extremamente importante para nós. Fronteiras somente existem nos mapas. Fronteira não existe no conhecimento, na criatividade e na inovação. Então, o que hoje são áreas temáticas que não existem fronteira entre países. E nós temos que aprender a trabalhar juntos. Então, se eu tivesse que recomendar, sugerir para os estudantes, não tenham de atravessar as fronteiras, quando vocês ultrapassarem as fronteiras, vocês vão conseguir atingir o sonho de vocês. Muito obrigado.
O evento Mentes Globais e Cidades Sustentáveis promove um espaço de diálogo sobre os desafios contemporâneos e a possibilidade de construção de sociedades e cidades conectadas, sustentáveis e resilientes. Ao reunir diferentes perspectivas, experiências e áreas do conhecimento, a programação nos convida a refletir sobre a importância da cooperação, diálogo e da construção conjunta de respostas para os desafios do nosso tempo. O evento também evidencia como a ciência e o conhecimento produzido nas universidades podem se aproximar das necessidades reais da sociedade, por meio da colaboração entre universidades, governos, empresas e comunidades. É possível co-criar soluções que contribuam para o desenvolvimento sustentável, a resiliência das comunidades e a construção de cidades mais preparadas para os desafios do presente e do futuro. Chamamos ao palco os mediadores desta noite, a coordenadora do mestrado em Planejamento e Gestão de Cidades Sustentáveis, professora doutora Cristina Fachinelli, e o coordenador da Semana de Cidades Resilientes e Sustentáveis, professor doutor Rafael de Lucena Perini.
Boa noite a todos e a todas. Quero iniciar, então, cumprimentando também nosso magnífico reitor, professor Dr. Asdrubal Falavigna. Em nome dele, cumprimento as demais autoridades acadêmicas e civis citadas no protocolo, nossos professores e nossos estudantes. Um desafio estar aqui hoje, né? A ideia, então, fazer uma breve apresentação minha da semana. Vou fazer em inglês, em função de estarmos na semana da International Week. O desafio, quase que o desafio maior é ter o meu professor, né, de inglês na cabine, na tradução. Então, minha prova final hoje, o meu professor de inglês, Daniel, né, fazendo a minha tradução. So, good evening, everyone. So, it's a pleasure to welcome you to another edition of the International Week on Resilient and Sustainable Cities, an initiative of the City Living Lab, the Master Program in Planning and Management of Sustainable Cities, and Program in Business Administration, PPGA, at the University of Caxias do Sul. This edition builds on the first edition of our International Week on Resilient and Sustainable Cities, held in March 2025. That first experience was very important for us because it showed the potential of bringing together different institutions, countries, and sectors around the discussion of resilient and sustainable cities. During that week, in 2025, we brought together representatives from 4 universities with participation of researchers from Brazil and abroad, and reached more than 300 participants through the different activities. The program included international panels, workshops, open lectures, research meetings, discussions with public officials, and activities directly involving the local community. We also took the discussion beyond the university. Researchers met with the representative of municipal government, discussed climate change and urban governance with public officials, worked with organizations and stakeholders, and participated in activities directly with community of Galópolis. One of the most important aspects of that first edition was precisely the diversity. We brought together academia, government, organizations, and communities, creating different spaces for dialogue about the challenges cities are facing. We discussed governance, climate change, carbon neutrality, urban vulnerability, climate justice, community engagement, and sustainable development. And perhaps one of the most important ideas that emerged from those discussions was that resilience does not simply mean returning to what existed before a crisis. It means learning, adapting, and transforming. For us, internationalization means much more than simply inviting researchers from other countries to give lectures. It means building long-term relationships, developing joint research, exchanging experience, creating academic networks, and connecting the knowledge produced here with universities and research centers around the world. In this edition, these relationships especially strengthened through our partnership with the University of Siena and the Santa Chiara Lab, expanding a collaboration that has been developed over time and that already involves research, knowledge exchange, and new opportunities for academic cooperations. We would also like to acknowledge the support of the National Council of Scientific and Technological Development, CNPq, whose support has been essential to the realization of this edition and to strengthen its scientific and international character. Another important characteristic of this week is the connection between research, education, and practical application. In addition to lectures and discussions, we are creating spaces to present the project developed by the City Living Lab, ongoing research, and work developed by our students and researchers, especially those connected to the Master Program in Planning and Management of Sustainable Cities. The idea is not only to discuss cities, but also show that what we are researching, testing, and developing in response to the real challenges faced by our territories. And this is also why I would like to make a special invitation to allow you to join us for Friday, tomorrow, activities. Through Friday, we will have presentations of projects, research, and work by students and researchers. It will be an opportunity to understand some of the initiatives currently being developed by the City Living Lab, the Master Program in Planning and Management Sustainable Cities, and our research groups, as well as to exchange ideas and identify possibilities for new collaborations. And I would especially like to highlight our Friday discussion with Professor Yara Negreiros, a specialist with direct involvement in the development and discussion of international standards for cities. Her participation will allow us to go beyond ISO 37123, focus on indicators for resilient cities, and also discuss the broader family of international standards related to sustainable, smart, and resilient cities. This will be an important opportunity to understand how different ISO standards can support cities in organizing data, measuring performance, identifying vulnerabilities, comparing indicators, supporting public policies, and planning more effectively for future challenges. In other words, the discussion will not be limited to one specific standard. It will also help us to understand how these different ISOs frameworks can work together as practical tools for urban management, sustainability, smart cities, development, and resilience. So, I strongly encourage all of you to join us again on Friday, tomorrow, both for the research and project presentations and for this broader discussion on international standards, indicators, and the future of resilient and sustainable cities. And now, continue with tonight's program. I'd like to invite Professor Ana Cristina to join us within the conversation and introduce our international guest. And Ana Cristina also will make a speech about the Living Labs, and then to introduce Professor Simone Cresti for the University of Siena, who will deliver tonight's lecture. So thank you very much, and I wish you everyone an excellent evening.
Boa noite, pessoal. Tudo bem? Eu sou a professora Ana Cristina e eu estou aqui para falar para vocês um pouco sobre Living Lab, que é um Living Lab. Mas eu queria pedir licença para me apresentar um pouco mais, já que a gente está na International Week e eu estava ouvindo as falas anteriores e lembrando um pouco da minha caminhada, das minhas experiências internacionais. Hoje a gente teve um dos nossos bolsistas, o Vini, que está aqui, voltando da França. Ele chegou de surpresa, está todo mundo emocionado de receber ele aqui, e isso acabou mobilizando algumas memórias nossas, né, com experiências internacionais. E então, por isso que eu me permito me apresentar para vocês. e dizer que realmente, professor Asdrubal, a experiência internacional nos muda a nossa maneira de ver o mundo. O professor Drayton da PUC ontem foi muito feliz também na fala dele, né? Muito inspirador, assim. A gente sai da gente mesmo para voltar com um outro olhar. Então, meu nome é Ana Cristina Fachinelli Bertolini. O mais importante que eu posso dizer para vocês é que eu sou mãe da Maria Carolina, de 24 anos, mãe da Anitta, de 19 anos. Então, eu olho para vocês aqui, é como se eu estivesse falando com elas, eu digo isso de coração. O que eu vou dizer para vocês é o que eu digo para elas, que é voem. Voem. E essa é a ideia da gente trabalhar a internacionalização e tentar trazer a internacionalização aqui. Eu saí do país num tempo em que pensar em ter uma bolsa, um apoio, era algo impossível. Eu saí do Brasil em 1994 para fazer o meu mestrado na Universidade de Marselha, na França, sem bolsa, só com coragem, muita coragem, e com o salário da UX, era disso que eu vivia lá. Terminei o mestrado, voltei. Em 1998, saí novamente para fazer o doutorado, dessa vez na Universidade de Poitiers, também sem bolsa, dessa vez com uma parte do salário. Então, não foi fácil, tinha fim de semana que tinha que escolher entre comprar baguete ou leite, assim, né? Mas, enfim, foi na França também, de onde eu vim e venho. E deu tudo certo, consegui uma bolsa lá, terminei o doutorado, 4 anos depois, 2002, eu voltei. E fiquei na UX bastante tempo. Em 2008, eu saí novamente. Dessa vez, já não saí mais sozinha, já saí com meu marido, com a minha filha menor com 6 meses e com a minha filha maior com 5 anos. Então, a gente foi em família para o País Basco, na Espanha, para o pós-doutorado. Sem bolsa, salário da UX no primeiro ano, licença e interesse no segundo ano, porque eu achei que um ano era pouco. Então, quis ficar mais um ano. Muito do que eu vou mostrar para vocês hoje, o City Living Lab, ele só foi possível por causa disso. Só foi possível em função dos contatos, das redes, das colaborações que foram sendo construídas ao longo desse tempo. Então, hoje, pessoal, são outros tempos. Outros tempos. Hoje a gente tem muitas possibilidades. Tem alternativas para conseguir recursos, para pensar em intercâmbio. A UX, a gente falou tanto, né, do CAPES Global, que é uma conquista enorme para os nossos programas de doutorado. E é hora de olhar para isso muito seriamente como uma possibilidade concreta. Os caminhos para quem quer vão acontecer, vão aparecer, existe um apoio enorme na UX para isso. Então, pessoal, o que eu queria dizer para vocês com essa apresentação assim mais pessoal do que de currículo, né? É mais uma troca de experiência para dizer o quanto isso é transformador na nossa vida. Transformou a mim, transformou as minhas filhas com a experiência que elas tiveram no País Basco, e com certeza o mundo está aí para todos nós. Tá? Como professora da UX e com envolvimento em tantas iniciativas, eu posso garantir para vocês que a UX está muito empenhada na internacionalização, tanto em apoiar vocês como trazer o mundo cada vez mais para cá, para dentro. Ok? Então, fecha essa parte. Agora, vamos lá. O meu papel aqui é introduzir o conceito de Living Lab, para explicar para vocês o que é. Será que está desligado aqui? Opa, agora foi demais. Para onde? Passou uma mais. Aí. Então, pessoal, o que é um Living Lab? um Living Lab é um espaço, mas mais do que isso, é um ambiente voltado para a pesquisa baseadas em circunstâncias da vida real. E é um ambiente onde as pesquisas acontecem com foco na busca de soluções e onde também a gente tenta testar essas soluções, avaliar os resultados e envolver nesse processo diferentes stakeholders. Esse é o conceito. A gente vai, nessa noite, esclarecer um pouco mais sobre isso a partir dos projetos, da explicação dos projetos que a gente tem, e depois o nosso querido Simone Cresti vai trazer a experiência italiana em Living Labs. O movimento dos Living Labs está crescendo bastante no Brasil, a gente tem ouvido falar muito sobre isso, em diferentes formatos, com diferentes experiências. No nosso caso da UX, a nossa opção foi por nos alinharmos ao modelo europeu de Living Labs, tá? Que é um modelo em que existe método, a gente não faz as coisas ao acaso, e existe toda uma lógica de governança por trás desse tipo de estrutura. Então, o Living Lab, o nosso Living Lab, é o City Living Lab, que tem como foco estudos de dados, informação, conhecimento para diferentes dimensões da vida nas cidades. Então, são muitos temas, nós buscamos abordar aquilo que é a urgência, a situação que a comunidade, que o nosso entorno manifesta como uma circunstância de vida real que tem uma demanda por alternativas e por soluções. O Living Lab, nosso City Living Lab, aprende com o mundo muito. Aqui, nessa tela, vocês podem ver algumas das conexões que a gente tem, algumas conexões, algumas parcerias muito bem estabelecidas. O Santa Chiara Lab, né, nós temos um acordo de colaboração com a Universidade de Siena que envolve os Living Labs, o grupo Ecodynamics, também da Universidade de Siena, a Universidade de Westminster, e aqui um parênteses, né, a colaboração evoluiu tanto que hoje a gente tem um duplo diploma no mestrado em cidades com a Universidade de Westminster. As coisas são muito concretas nessas colaborações. A gente tem o World Capital Institute, que é um think tank, que envolve pesquisadores do México, do Reino Unido, de Viena, da Austrália, né, Rafael? Acho que, e da Espanha. Então, é uma rede que nos ajuda a evoluir, a refletir, a desenvolver nossas pesquisas. O City Living Lab tem uma história interessante, assim, porque ele não foi planejado. Ele foi um caminho que nós encontramos num determinado momento, nós, um grupo de pesquisadores. Em 2020, foi o ano da pandemia, né? E nós, no programa de pós-graduação em administração, na época, tínhamos muitas pesquisas em andamento que envolviam diferentes temas relativos à inovação, a busca de soluções inovadoras para diferentes situações em cidades. E em 2020 vem a pandemia. E a nossa preocupação na época foi como manter o grupo conectado, como conferir uma identidade ao grupo de pesquisa. Naquele momento, a gente fez um projeto de pesquisa, submetemos à universidade, que aprovou esse projeto, e esse projeto foi avançando. A gente criou um logo, meio de brincadeira, criamos o nome, e aí, em cada situação, a gente se apresentava. Esse projeto é um desdobramento do projeto City Living Lab, do PPGA, e assim por diante. E aí, vocês têm na tela um pouco os projetos que a gente se envolveu em 2021, 2022, 2023, até que, em 2024, nesse meio tempo, a gente foi respondendo a alguns editais que foram abrindo e sempre colocando o Living Lab como o ponto central das pesquisas que a gente envolvia. A gente aprendeu, então, a captar um pouquinho de recurso para viabilizar os projetos. Em 2024, o governo do estado do Rio Grande do Sul, a Secretaria de Inovação, Ciência e Tecnologia, abriu um edital que era para viabilizar Living Labs, mas era no agronegócio. Naquele momento, nós pensamos, agronegócio? Mas é a nossa possibilidade de ter o Living Lab materializado na UX, porque a característica do edital era construir um espaço, enfim. Então, nós pesquisamos, refletimos, avaliamos o que nós conseguiríamos entregar dentro do tema de agronegócio e o caminho que nós escolhemos naquele momento foi usar a tecnologia IoT para a agricultura urbana. Como a gente poderia coletar dados em tempo real que ajudasse o desenvolvimento de hortas urbanas em Caxias, já que Caxias tem uma realidade forte de hortas urbanas, enfim. O projeto foi aprovado e com aquele recurso e com a aprovação da UX e a contrapartida da UX, a gente conseguiu construir um espaço para o City Living Lab. Estão todos convidados a conhecer, a aparecer lá, para ver como é que é aqui na frente, nesse prédio, na frente da Sala Florência, aqui no segundo andar. Se vocês forem para o corredor, se vocês forem para o banheiro, olhem para o outro lado, lá é o City Living Lab, todos muito bem-vindos. A partir daí, a gente continuou submetendo projetos para editais, aprovamos alguns, enfim, e seguimos trabalhando. E aí, aqui é um resumo um pouco dos projetos com os quais a gente tem trabalhado, né, em 3 grandes eixos, que é tecnologia, sociedade e mudança. E na base aqui vocês têm os nossos parceiros. Em 2024, para que vocês vejam como as circunstâncias da vida real nos movem, né? Então, a gente nasceu na pandemia. Em 2024, o que aconteceu, né? As enchentes, os deslizamentos, toda aquela situação tão difícil. Naquele momento, com a Universidade de Westminster, com os colegas de lá, a gente submeteu um projeto, porque nós estávamos inconformados, pensando como poderíamos trabalhar, o que poderíamos fazer para essa temática, para ajudar a cidade, sabendo que as questões do clima provavelmente vão permanecer mais com a gente, né, por bastante tempo. E nós aprovamos um projeto no Reino Unido. Então, com fundos do Reino Unido, nós conseguimos fazer um trabalho sobre resiliência, e aí foi que a gente conectou com a primeira semana de resiliência, conforme o professor Rafael falou. E aí, um dos projetos que eu gostaria de destacar aqui, que mora no nosso coração, e que eu estou vendo nossos queridos amigos de Galópolis aqui, né, foi mobilizar a comunidade, tentar ajudar a mobilizar a comunidade de Galópolis para que a própria comunidade tivesse voz e pudesse dizer como via a resiliência da sua área. Isso, tecnicamente falando, é community-based. Né? Então, community-based resilience não é algo que vem top-down. A comunidade precisa se envolver, precisa ter voz. E a gente está muito feliz. Eu vejo que a Darla acabou, que é a presidente da comunidade de Galópolis, sendo agora nossa aluna no mestrado, e tendo todo um reconhecimento, né, dessa organização da comunidade de Galópolis, que eu tenho certeza vai ser uma referência para o Estado. Já é, a Defesa Civil diz isso todo o tempo. Então, isso é pesquisa baseada em circunstâncias da vida real, pessoal. Nosso primeiro papel é mobilizar, tentar tirar da zona de conforto os stakeholders envolvidos em várias situações da sociedade, da cidade, que precisam de resposta. Então, isso é um Living Lab. Hoje nós somos, então, a partir daquele projeto, da sala, enfim, nós somos um oficialmente, não somos mais só um projeto de pesquisa, nós somos um laboratório de pesquisa social vinculado a 2 programas de pós-graduação, que é o programa de pós-graduação em administração e o mestrado em planejamento e gestão de cidades sustentáveis. Então, caríssimos, aqui o projeto da sala, nossas redes sociais, todos muito bem-vindos para nos seguir, todos os projetos a gente divulga muito lá, e aqui com os colegas do Reino Unido, né, uma imagem da sala, a gente espera que vocês venham ver ao vivo e a cores. Aqui o dia da inauguração da sala, faz um ano, não, um pouco mais, foi em março do ano passado. E era isso, pessoal. Então, um pouquinho do conceito de Living Labs, nossa experiência, e agora a gente vai ter a fala, então, né, da nossa grande atração da noite, o professor Simone Cresti, da Universidade de Siena. Obrigada.
Dr. Simone Cresti é pesquisador do Santa Chiara Lab da Universidade de Siena e especialista em desenvolvimento sustentável, Agenda 2030 e responsabilidade social corporativa. Atua como gerente de projetos do Santa Chiara Living Lab, certificado pela Rede Europeia de Living Labs, e desenvolve pesquisas e projetos voltados à sustentabilidade empresarial, aos sistemas agroalimentares e à transformação do conhecimento científico em soluções para as empresas e comunidades. Com a palavra, Dr. Simone.
Thank you very much. And first of all, I want to thank Anna, Cristina, Rafael, Marcel, and all the other colleagues from UCS that has invited me. I'm here and really honored to be here and to be in this fantastic place with a very, very high number of students and colleagues from UCS. I want to bring also the warmest greetings from the rector of my university, Professor Roberto Di Pietra, and from the former rector and at the moment is the chair and president of the Santa Chiara Lab, the research center from where I come from here, Professor Angelo Ricconi. So I want to start my presentation here by introducing a discussion point. And I'm not here to teach something to you. I'm here to learn from you, to start a discussion and to put an issue on the table. And I will be really, really happy if at the end of this discussion, I can learn something on this issue. So the title of my presentation is Breaking the Ivory Tower, How Living Labs Turn Science into Community Resilience. So the point that I want to introduce here and I want to ask also for your opinion is if the traditional model, traditional system of transferring knowledge and innovation of academia in the world is still working or not in front of the new challenges, the new big challenges of climate change, of these inequalities, of risks that our communities are nowadays facing. But let me introduce briefly myself because I think that you must know who I am and where I come from. This number that is under the name of the university is the year in which the University of Siena was founded. So we are there discussing of problems and trying to find solutions and spreading knowledge for almost 8 centuries. We are the 3rd oldest university, or the 4th, I'm not remember real well, in Europe. And we are city, we used to say that University of Siena is a campus within a city. Santa Chiara Lab is a building, that is in the picture. It was a convent, and 20 years ago the university bought this building in order to create a college for students. After some years, after a financial crisis of the university, Professor Angelo Riccaboni, at the moment was the rector of the university, decided to designate this building to a research innovation center focusing on sustainable development. It was the period in which the United Nations started to launch the Agenda 2030. And he, with a long vision, decided to destinate this building to creating a research center on sustainability, on sustainable development with a multidisciplinary approach. Siena is, as I was saying, is a medieval town, is very, very small city, and the University of Siena is a generalist university with 15 departments. We have 15,000 students, and those 15,000 students are a community into the city community that is composed by more or less 60,000 inhabitants. So 15,000 students that lives together with 60,000 inhabitants of Siena. And this is helpful in order for you to understand the size of the university and the relationship between the community of students and the community of citizens. Siena is a city that is in the middle of Tuscany. Tuscany is a region that is characterized by hills, by rivers, by small, not very high mountains, and we have a long coast in the Mediterranean Sea. Why I'm saying these geographical aspects? Because we are facing exactly the same problems and the same challenges of the Mediterranean region. So we are in the middle of Italy, we are in the middle of the Mediterranean, and our efforts in research and in promoting innovation are useful not only for our territories, but for all the big Mediterranean region. Why now I introduce you the Mediterranean region? You know that this region is a very, very complex region. It is composed by 22 countries. Around 600 million people live in this region. We have 15 official languages and 3 very, very diverse religions. So the level of complexity of this region is one element that can absolutely be taken into consideration when we deal with, for example, to implement a policy for climate change, a policy for sustainable agriculture, a policy for the improvement of the level of democracy. So who take decision in a region where there are 22 governments, where many of them are not able to speak the same languages? So this is why I want to stress how relevant are the universities and research centers that with the action of the diplomatic approach, the scientific approach of diplomacy, of research and teaching, try to boost promotion of sustainability and sustainable development in this complex region. The Mediterranean Basin, it has been demonstrated by the Union for the Mediterranean that warms 20% faster than the global average. It is considered an hotspot of climate change. It has been demonstrated that with current policies, without any change in policies, temperature are expected to increase of 2.2 degrees Celsius by 2040. That is more than the Paris Climate Agreement. When I arrived yesterday, I found more or less 15, 20 degrees less than when I started in Rome. I have been living for 3 months with a temperature during the day that ranged from 35 to 42 degrees during the day. In the last year, but not 20 or 30 years ago, but 5 years ago, during the summer in Italy, only 2-3 weeks have temperature more than 35. Now we are with those temperature since the beginning of June. The anomalies record of June and July 2026 in Europe are 2.79 degrees Celsius above the baseline 91 to 30. During the night, the temperature doesn't go down under 25 degrees Celsius. And also the altitude of freezing is over 4,000 meters. So this situation provoked the accelerating of glacier loss. But also the temperature of the sea is something that is incredible. Is from 6 to 8 degrees Celsius above the normal situation. In some region, the temperature of the sea arrived to exceed 30 degrees Celsius. So the Mediterranean region is a region that is in a very critical situation. We all know that, of course, the literature, the experts say that Agenda 2030, unfortunately, is not running towards the expected direction. Only the 12, 15, someone say 17% of the sustainable development goals is running in the right direction, only the 15%. The other 85% is out of record. So we are not achieving many of the goals of the Agenda 2030. So the question is, what about the Mediterranean region? Do you think that we are achieving or not? Let's see it with some maps that show the situation of all the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Those 17 maps have to be read using the legend on the left. So if you see green, it means that the goal is on track. If you see yellow, it means that the country is in the middle, is not really achieving, but it's not a very bad situation. If you see orange and red, it means that significant and major challenges still remain. So the country is not achieving the goal. The data come from the SDSN, Sustainable Development Solutions Network, which is a network launched by the United Nations and led by Professor Jeffrey Sachs, that is an economist of Columbia University. So the official data, and if you want to check the data of this map, you can go on the website of SDSN, and there is a fantastic platform where you can select the country that you are interested in, and you can see how they perform in each of the 17 sustainable goals. So, as for SDG number 1, no poverty, the situation in the Mediterranean is not really bad. Some country is on track, some other have some challenges, but not many red and orange countries. What about SDG number 2, zero hunger? Yeah, the situation is not really good in terms of food security, food safety, and all the indicators that explain the SDG number 2. SDG number 3, again, many countries are yellow. So some countries are yellow, many are orange, but many others, especially those in the North African region and Middle East, are red. Quality education, that's incredible, that almost all the European countries has education systems that are not on track in respect of the Agenda 2030. And gender equality. Gender equality, again, is another goal that is not really in a good situation. Clean and water and sanitation. Only Spain in Europe demonstrate to be on track. All the others are from yellow to red. What about the energy systems in the Mediterranean? Not very good situation again, with European countries that demonstrate to have some challenges again, but many other countries, Italy included, have significant and major challenges on this topic. Decent job and economic growth, orange and red for the majority of the Mediterranean countries. Industry, innovation, and infrastructure, similar situation. Inequalities. There are some good situations, for example, with Algeria, that is green, but other not performing situation. Sustainable cities and communities. This is a goal that is really close to the topic that we are discussing today. In the Mediterranean region, we are not really in a good situation. What about the system of consumption and production? Almost all the countries from the region are red. Someone is yellow, some other orange. Climate action. Bad situation. Oh, SDG 14, sorry, the name is the life under the water. So the situation of the Mediterranean basin, the water of the sea is really bad. Life on land, the same. Peace, justice, and strong institution. Yes, I would like to remember to you that in our region, we are experiencing now 2 wars, the Middle East and the Russia-Ukraine wars. So it's very difficult to speak about peace and justice. And partnership for the goal. So the capacity of states and countries to dedicate resources for the partnership, again, is not in a really bad situation. So what is our commitment in this situation in the Mediterranean, but also all over the world? We are not expected to stay to read a book or a newspaper under the umbrella at the beach, but an action from us is needed. It's urgently needed. And here we come to the title of my presentation. How we can provide people, provide communities with knowledge, with information, with innovation, with creating synergies between institutions, between companies, private sector, the research sector. Well, first of all, I think we have to rethink the system in which academia is providing its fundamental service to the community. In this picture, there is a very nice sentence: if we weren't for the pesky consumer, our business would be doing great. So the responsibilities of the consumer, they say, the people who is on the top of the ivory tower. So there is, in my opinion, but I want to discuss with you all and also listening from your opinion, the modern academia faces a deep structural paradox. So despite the advancements in modeling for the climate change, in ecological sciences, sustainable engineering, local communities remain dangerously vulnerable and to the environmental volatility. Scientific insights frequently remain trapped with academic literature, peer-reviewed journals, and institutional reports. There are thousands and thousands of pages of reports that unfortunately remain unread. Not the total, but, or if they are read from few experts. So the question is, this traditional top-down model of spreading knowledge, of providing research, does it treat local population as passive subjects or not, rather than engaging communities as active partners? This picture represents San Bernardino da Siena, which was a friar that started to communicate people in local language, in local idioma, leaving the Latin idioma. And somehow I think that it well represents the starting of the new methodology for the engagement of community in a co-creative environment in which at the same table, since the beginning, sits the researcher, sits the innovator, sits the citizen, the normal citizen, the policymaker, the local policymaker, the national policymaker. So to bridge this disconnection, a fundamental shift, in my opinion, is required. So, and here my point is, the Living Lab a solution for this new paradigm or not? So Anna, before than me, defined what are living labs. So user-centered open innovation ecosystems are infrastructure, physical spaces, operating with real-life environments. So the concept of quadruple helix framework is exactly the concept of living lab. So the civil society is expected to participate to common decision on how to implement research, which are the direction towards our research idea, research design, and innovation procedure has to go. And a living lab needs for sure to demonstrate something, to bring on the ground the theoretical parts and the theoretical theories and hypotheses from where research starts. So by placing communities, people, and companies, associations, municipalities at the center of the research process, the Living Lab transforms the scientific discovery into a dynamic feedback loop. So if at certain points with specific milestones, the process is not going towards the right direction for all the components of the discussion table in the Living Lab, we can decide to change direction. Maybe we are not in the right direction. So we don't want prefabricated solutions that normally comes from the traditional system of top-down research model. So this collaborative model is particularly crucial for building resilience in urban and rural territories facing climate change. So Living Labs operationalize this adaptation by converting abstract scientific predictions into tangible, community-driven practices, solutions, and also good example. Anna introduced already the high number of Living Labs that is growing in Europe, but also in other parts of the globe. And the European network of Living Labs in all is an example. So I want to bring to you the attention towards an experience that we have in Europe. That is a network of 150 to 20 Living Labs certified by this network. So this network tries to homogenize those Living Labs according to different models and created a global community of change makers. Since some months, also the City Living Lab of UCS became member of this European but also global network that is the European network of Living Labs. And in this picture was the meeting that started this process of certification of the City Living Lab of UCS of this. I remember that I was connected online because I was not able to be in presence in this meeting. This is to say that occasion like this and collaborations between the University of Siena and the Santa Chiara Lab and the City Living Lab of UCS are for sure a good system of sharing experiences, sharing good practices, sharing good results that have been achieved by one or the other. Business model, so the definition has already been said, but business model of a Living Lab. What is a business model for a Living Lab? A Living Lab can be initiated and hosted by a university, and it has some features and some characteristics, but also from a municipality with different characteristics, or any other organization. Also a company, a private unit can be a Living Lab. A demonstrator of the adoption of innovation can be replicated with other companies. So this is a map that demonstrates how many Living Labs are in Europe, and this is a map that is present in the website of the European Network of Living Labs. And those are some results of a research that I did within the family of European Network of Living Labs. Within and all, the majority of living labs are research-driven living labs. So are universities or research centers that are hosting a living lab. But the literature say that the urban model, the urban living lab, is the predominant model of living lab. Because, of course, not all the living labs are members of the European Network of Living Labs. So the urban model is the predominant in respect of all the others. Other kind of living labs are rural living labs or living labs as services. So the living lab that supports municipalities, that supports private companies, that support other organizations to do something, or living test bed, where they test some innovation for the market, for example. Which are the areas of work of the living labs certified by the European Networks of Living Lab? So the predominant area is social innovation and inclusion, but we have many living labs that work on health and well-being, and many others that in education, in environment and climate change, smart cities and regions. And again, we are in the field that we want to discuss today, but also small, medium enterprises and startups. By analyzing, restricting the focus within those 155 living labs, I selected only those are focused on agri-food, because the Santa Chiara lab is a living lab focused on agri-food. So I was interested in understanding the business model of those agri-food living labs. And I analyzed 35 out of those 52 from 17 countries. 10 of them are coordinated by universities, 9 by municipality or public body, and 16 by private or non-profit organizations. What they do research, they provide services, they are living test bed, living labs, and 11, they are rural. So in the end, what is the result of this research? That university centers, living lab in agri-food have 3 main models. Or they are demonstrators, as for example, those universities that has its own farm and they demonstrate the innovation that the farms, private farms can adopt in order to change their business model in a more sustainable business model. Or the university or research centers are network of nodes. So they put together a number of initiatives, like, for example, departments, courses, conferences, and other initiatives on sustainability of agri-food. And the university center structure, like research center, completely focused on agri-food and sustainability of the agri-food sector. So the model that we developed at Santa Chiara is a model that is based on relationships and co-creation activities with different stakeholders. The one in the green circle, so with company, businesses, with citizens, with policymakers, with schools, with other universities, and with banks and finance actors. By doing what? All the activities that you see in the orange circle. So we do teaching, of course, we organize school, we organize training also for companies, not only for university students. So I'm dealing with activities of the Santa Chiara Living Lab. So they are all activities with subjects that are external to the Living Lab, with a principle of co-creation So starting from the beginning with those subject external to the university. So public engagement, so we organize events, seminar, surveys with population, with citizens, with organizations, with organization representative of farmers, for example. We do research. We coordinate research project. We do communication. We have newsletters, we have website, social network. We have specific places where we demonstrate how innovation can be adopted by companies, by farms, by private sector. We do valorization activities with companies, and we provide with advocacy services, ministries or other public entities. So we interact also with policymakers. What we find really relevant in this action is to collaborate with the external red circle that represents the networks, national and international networks. So the collaboration with networks is fundamental for a living lab in order to have opportunities of other projects, etc. So when you come in our building, in our research center, in our living lab, you can physically walk through different laboratories that are completely engaged in activities with external actors to the university. We have a farming lab. We have an ESG for Agri that measure sustainability of companies. We have a track and quality, a laboratory, of a chemical laboratory that work on traceability of food products. We have the packaging lab, the kitchen lab, the agri-hub that is an IT sector with a big database. And we have the Siena Food Lab that is a project for the local development of farms and improvement of technologies in traditional farms of our territory. Those are pictures of our living lab. So on the left, you can see some students in the hydroponic lab. Then I will explain what is it. On the right, top right picture, that is an example of food created with a 3D printer machine for food. And on the bottom right picture, there are some students and researchers in the aeroponic laboratory. So the farming lab is a laboratory where a group of researchers, botanic researchers, demonstrate how vertical farming and hydroponic system can be adopted by some kind of agriculture private farms. So they work directly with private sector, with companies that want to understand how hydroponic can be a solution for a changing in their business model. And the aeroponic lab is a similar system of vertical farming with the roots of the plants that are immersed in tanks where humid air circulates. So aeroponic because there is no soil here. So soilless systems, vertical farming. And in the hydroponic lab, roots are immersed in tank with water, with nutrients precisely measured by a computer system. And the aeroponic lab, the roots are immersed in a tank where humid air circulates. and the quantity of nutrients for those plants are regulated by a computer system. So all the parameters of the growth of the plants are registered by the researchers in order for them to demonstrate if some species of plants are adapting more or less to this system of new innovative agriculture. The microcosm is another system that simulates extreme climate events. So those two, let's say, greenhouses are computer machine where the temperature, the humidity, the light, the water is regulated by computers. So scientists can decide to grow a specific species of plants, of vegetables, in a strong and very hard climate conditions in order to understand which are the species that best adapt to future climate extreme situations. The Track and Quality Laboratory is a laboratory where chemicals, scientists with a process based on chemical elements can understand and can understand exactly from where a food product comes from, is cultivated, with an approximation of more or less 50 kilometers. So by analyzing an olive, they can understand if the tree is in Sicily or is in Piedmont, in France, or in Spain. By consulting a map of the European and Mediterranean countries based on chemical elements that are present in the soil. So comparing the presence of chemical elements of the fluids with the chemical elements of the soil, they can understand exactly where the product comes from. Why this is important for companies? Because, for example, in areas and territories where the value of the product is strictly related to the origin. I give you, for example, the Chianti area for the wine. I don't know how many of you know Chianti or Brunello di Montalcino are two kinds of red wine their value strictly depends on the territory from which the grapes are cultivated. So by demonstrating and certifying with a scientific-based system the traceability of the food products, this can be relevant for a company for the price of the product in the market. The kitchen lab. So we go from farm to fork, as the European is used to stop me if the time is running. Okay. From farm to fork, that is, from farm to fork is the name of a famous policy of the European Commission that helps the European farmers to transform their business model in more sustainable agriculture system. So we have also a kitchen laboratory in our living lab, and it is a real professional kitchen with some instruments, like, for example, a 3D scanning and a 3D printing machine for food that are used by a school of chef, for example, to create new forms and new shapes of food. In the picture on the bottom right, you can see 4 different cakes done with the 3D printer machine that you see in the bottom right, in the upper picture, that are made with 4 different milks. So what we do in this kitchen laboratory, we invite normal people to eat for a lunch, and the example of the picture in the middle is one of that. We invite to have a lunch in our restaurant, which is a research restaurant. It's not a common restaurant, and we give some information about the products, the dishes that they are eating. In this example, we ask to the people to evaluate those 4 cakes, not only according to the taste, so the preferences, the normal preferences that a consumer has. So I like more this one in respect of the other, but also on the basis of the information that relates to the environmental impact, the different environmental impact that the 4 cakes have, because they are made of different milks. One is made of cow milk, with cow milks, one is made of oat milks, and another one with soy milk. The 3 different systems of farming of cow, oats, and soy have 3 different impacts on the environment. So the footprint of those 4 cakes are different. And so we ask to the consumer to express their preferences also on the basis of those information and on the basis of the shapes. If they like the first one more or the last one, in order to understand if preferences of consumers still goes according to, are driven by the traditional elements, like the price, like the taste, or there could be some other elements that can be relevant for a consumer when goes to the restaurant or when goes to the supermarket to buy something. The packaging lab is another laboratory where a group of scientists, together with some companies that are from the fish value chain, produce a packaging, a film that is completely biodegradable by using the shrimps. Those are shrimps. So by transforming with a chemical process the cover of the shrimps, they create a completely biodegradable packaging film. Virtual laboratory, maybe the last one. Yes, the virtual laboratory is a virtual reality laboratory where we simulate a supermarket and we ask people that we invite for testing their preferences to choose something in a supermarket in order to understand which are the elements that drive the choice of the consumers. Again, here we simulate a supermarket with a high number of bottles of wines, for example. Someone is traditional bottle of wine with information on the brand, on the price, etc. And some others bottles have some information on the environmental impact of the production of that bottle. And we want to understand how consumer behaves. WOW is our last laboratory that I don't know, maybe you didn't visit it, the WOW museum. We don't call it laboratory, but is a museum, an immersive experience pathway where common people, policymakers, and organizations can understand which are the main challenges for the production of wine, the first W, olive oil, the O, and wheat, the three main products that characterize the agriculture system in Tuscany. Wine, olive oil, and wheat. So during this experience, immersive experience with rooms that are completely circulating all the people, so you enter in a room where all the walls are a video that is running, and you can understand which are the challenges for these three agriculture productions, value chains, and then which are the possible solutions that you can adopt as a company based on the co-creation process with the Living Lab, the Santa Chiara Lab. Of course, I imagine that you have a question. Someone of you, I think, that has a question. How much it costs to set up this number of laboratories? Yes, the financial resources are not a secondary aspect for universities, for living labs, for all the organizations. The answer of our experience is that two main European projects are the source of the funds that we used for setting up this high number of laboratories. The two projects are called Metrofood IT and Agritech. Both the projects are focused on agri-food. Metrofood has the aim, both the projects are funded by the European Resilience and Recovery Funds through the Italian Ministry of the University. And the Metrofood IT has the aim of creating an infrastructure, both physical and electronic infrastructure for laboratories for agri-food innovative setup of the agri-food sector. Of course, we are one of the university partners of this project, and Agritech is the other project, the second project that set up a national research center for technology in agriculture. Those are the two projects that allowed us to create these living labs. Let me repeat how relevant for us are international network. I already presented the European network of living labs, but let me present two more international network, the PRIMA initiative and the Sustainable Development Solutions Network. So PRIMA is a program that is composed by representative of 19 countries in the Mediterranean area. The acronym stands for Partnership for Research and Innovation in the Mediterranean Area, and it is an initiative that is supported by 19 governments. So with a budget of more than 700 million euros for financing research and innovation projects presented by both universities, but also private sector, in sustainable agriculture, sustainable use of water resources, and sustainable agri-food value chains. The characteristics is that consortium that participated to those call for proposals need to have at least one country from the northern shore of the Mediterranean and one from the southern shore of the Mediterranean. So with the principle of including all the different parts of the Mediterranean. The SDSN is a network of university, a global network of university and research center, sustainable development solutions network with the aim of mobilizing knowledge community and science-based solutions for sustainable development. The University of Siena, so my university, and the Santa Chiara Living Lab is the coordinator of the Mediterranean hub of the SDSN, because SDSN is organized in, it is a global network, and it is divided in national and regional sub-networks. So we are coordinating the regional sub-network for the Mediterranean. There is also a national network for Brazil that is hosted by a university in Rio de Janeiro, I don't remember the name, but together with Mateus before we were analyzing the websites. And those are more or less the networks, national and regional networks of SDSN. More than 2,000 universities and research centers are members of this network, organized in 57 national and regional networks. We have said, and I go to finish, I promise some other minutes, not more, how to engage people and stakeholders. It is fundamental for living labs having the engagement of stakeholders. So surveys, focus group, and a traditional methodology and system that are already tested for a long time by the research world are perfect, but there are other examples like IT platform that allow projects and initiatives to engage a great number of stakeholders in a limited time. This is why usually we don't have 3, 4, 5 years to organize 20, 30 focus groups with all the different families of stakeholders. So this is an example of a stakeholder engagement platform where you can create projects, we can create ideas, you can share surveys, you can ask for feedbacks, and you can promote events and co-creation sessions to send by email, by social network, to the different categories of stakeholders that you have already mapped. So this is a very interesting and powerful tool for engaging stakeholders and asking their opinion on what? On the project that you have in mind, on the direction that you want to plan to go with your living labs. So how Living Lab can mobilize companies? Because companies usually are attracted by everything that is part of their scope and their aims and their actions. So by money, if you ask a company to come to a research meeting, they say, yes, I'm happy to participate, but how many times I have to stay, how many people you need in this meeting, because we have to do this, we have to do that, we have the market, we have the fiera, they have to do a lot of things. And if, as an academia, as a research center, are not able to demonstrate that participating in a co-creation activity is something that increase their reputation, increase their competitiveness, have the possibility to introduce the company in new markets, or to enhance, improve the competencies of their personnel, I think it's very difficult to engage the private sector. So sustainability and competitiveness cannot be decoupled. I briefly explain you which are the results and the findings of a research that we did some years ago on private companies, food companies, and sustainability. The project name was Fixing the Business of Food. We analyzed 2 years of sustainability reports of around 15 companies, and we organized the information in 4 pillars. So we created this framework of analysis of the information that we found in the sustainability reports. Pillar 1 was information about the impact on the health of people, of food products of the company. The pillar 2 on the information and sustainability, business operations and internal processes. The pillar 3 was information about sustainable supply chains and value chains, and the pillar 4, information about the corporate social responsibility. Those was the company that we analyzed, so global companies, corporations, and what we discovered, that pillar 1 and pillar 2, the one of the beneficial products for the health and the sustainable business operation, had a high level of information. Pillar 3, supply chain, sustainability of the supply chain, and pillar 4, good corporate citizenship, have a low level of disclosure. We found many things to improve in this information system of companies, but what is important, the most important finding in this one, that companies tend not to disclose targets. So the majority of companies in their sustainability report, they disclose qualitative information. They say that they are sustainable. They say that they are committed in reducing CO2 emissions, but we don't know how. We don't know if a company is committed to reduce the 1% of CO2 emissions in the next 10 years, or it is committed to reduce the 50%. Both two are committed to reduce, but we don't know how is this commitment. So measurements in sustainability reporting for companies is something is strictly important and very relevant. This is an example of a private service that help small and medium enterprises to use standards, European standards, to measure sustainability and to draft sustainability reports. I stop here. I don't want to go in a further discussion with the European, with the European legislation. I want to come back. I'm not able to come back with the picture of thank you very much for your attention, and I'm really happy if you would like to raise questions and discussions.
Thank you very much, Professor Simone. Your presentation was very, very interesting. And we received some questions. And maybe I will ask to Professor Rafael to make one of them, or two, okay, because the time.
So we have here some questions from our students and doctorate students from the University of Caxias do Sul. One of the questions is related to the citizen participation. Mm-hmm. So what are the main challenges that you think that exist when you have, I know you told us that you have the citizen participation, but what is the main challenges that you face to bring people to participate in these Living Lab activities?
Yes, thank you for this question. This is a very relevant point because when when we do research, usually we start from creating samples in order to represent the global population. So Living Labs at the moment has not this particular power to engage neither the number of people that we usually do when we do research on with a quantitative analysis methodology, neither to represent the population, exactly to create a sample for representing the population. So the challenge is to test something with the population that we are able to recruit and to engage in our experiments, and to understand if the results of this experiment are relevant or not according to the type of members of citizens that we have been able to recruit for those experiments. So for example, we invite people to taste the food products that we do with 3D printer machine, but usually we create a sample composed by students or by university professors or by technicians of the university. If you would create a sample that represents the population of a city, so composed by a percentage of young people, a percentage of women, of men, of people that works on a sector, on another sector, you should have a budget, very high budget dedicated to the payment of people that dedicate you 1 hour of their time to come and to do the experiment. So the difficulty, the challenge is to being able to understand if the results of the experiment that you have done with the sample that you are able to engage in your experiment can be right for a generalization of the results in the total population that you want to analyze. But of course, it's important also having a sample of citizens that is not exactly representing the total population.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much for the answer. And thank you, Suene, for the question. That was the one that made the question. Anna?
I found your question about whether a living lab can be a solution to the dilemma you raised, the challenge of connecting science with the real-world problems in a specific context, particularly thought-provoking. It seems to me that the experience of Santa Chiara Lab provides a compelling answer to that. But I have a question. From your experience, what do you consider the most important element that enables a living lab to effectively connect scientific knowledge with the needs, challenges, and dynamics of a specific local context?
Yes, thank you. This is a very, very relevant question. What I find important, I should say fundamental, is to arrive to a final solution for the challenge and the problem that at the beginning we decided together with companies, with citizens, with policymakers, that we want to solve. So if our output is a policy, we must arrive to have a policy. We cannot stay to discuss days, weeks, months, and then we do not arrive to anything. Maybe it's not the best policy. Yes, okay, but we must have a policy to be improved, to be changed. But if we want to, if we work for providing a system of desalination of water for companies in the desert, we must arrive to a prototype. For that, the company must test the prototype and must say, yes, it works, it doesn't work, it is the best solution for my problem, or we have to improve it. But we must arrive to a final result, to an output, concrete output that can be seen as a result of a common work. Otherwise, a simple 1, 2, 3 scientific article in a review, even if from the research perspective they are really relevant, I don't think that citizens, companies, institutions, policymakers can benefit of something from them.
In fact, I think this reflection is very important, not just for us from Living Labs, but all of researchers.
Yeah, I don't want to say that scientific outputs are not relevant.
Yes, sure.
But at the same time, we must have also concrete outputs that can also the final analysis of scientific articles, of course, and should be, because we are universities. So publishing is relevant.
Sure.
But not only.
Yes, I agree. Thank you, Simone. Pessoal, a gente recebeu algumas perguntas de algumas pessoas que têm nossos contatos e foram se antecipando e enviando, mas eu também gostaria de abrir. Se alguém da plateia tem alguma pergunta, pode erguer a mão, se aproximar aqui, a gente alcança o microfone. Enquanto isso, eu passo a palavra para o professor Rafael, se quer fazer mais alguma pergunta.
Não, acho que tem só uma reflexão reflection about tonight. I think it was a great contribution that we have here with the Professor Simone and all the experience that he has with the Living Labs. And I think we can learn a lot with this. And also, I think we can talk in the meantime when somebody wants to make any questions, to tell that we are also going to Belgium in end of September.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think if you want to talk about this, is a very important thing that will formalize our participation in ENOL. That is going to be our participation, contribution to ENOL.
Então, o professor Simone contou, eu esqueci de dizer isso na minha fala, mas nesse ano o City Living Lab foi credenciado pela ENOL, é um processo bem importante. E eu já deixo aqui os agradecimentos públicos ao professor Simone, que eu diria que foi nosso padrinho nesse processo, porque ele nos aproximou do escritório central da ENOL em Roma. O professor Matheus e eu estivemos lá e eles nos incentivaram a submeter a candidatura. A gente fez todo um processo, né, para ser avaliados, e nós fomos aprovados, então, como membros da ENOL, o que nos coloca no cenário europeu de Living Labs, com possibilidade de trocas bem interessantes e talvez até de melhorar nossas fontes de recursos. Enfim, estamos explorando algumas possibilidades. Então, obrigada, professor Simone, por todo esse apoio, e o nosso desafio agora vai ser participar do primeiro encontro anual dessa rede na Bélgica no final de setembro. Então, alguns professores, pesquisadores do City Living Lab vão apresentar trabalhos, nós vamos fazer um workshop com os nossos projetos de pesquisa locais, com financiamento do CNPq para essa mobilidade. Então, estamos consolidando esse caminho, o que vai nos permitir crescer e abrir espaços para colegas, para outros pesquisadores. Hoje nós temos em torno de 30 pesquisadores envolvidos em projetos do City Living Lab, e a gente esperaria crescer muito. Então, eu acho que não vi mais perguntas, né? O que eu diria para vocês, se surgir alguma pergunta depois, alguém quiser saber mais, nos procurem nas redes sociais, enviem suas mensagens, venham aqui no City e a gente vai tentar responder. Eu agradeço a possibilidade, a oportunidade de ter falado um pouco do City Living Lab. Eu agradeço imensamente o professor Simone, que fez uma longa viagem para estar aqui conosco, e eu passo a palavra agora para o professor Rafael, o coordenador da segunda semana de resiliência, para fazer o fechamento dessa nossa sessão.
Acho que também para, I think that to finish this presentation, maybe I would ask you if you want to talk about the City Living Lab and about our projects here, I would ask for our colleagues from City Living Lab that are here and our master students also, you can stand up, please. Fiquem em pé, nossos alunos do mestrado e a turma do City Living Lab que está por aí. Levanta aí nossos professores. Então, se vocês tiverem alguma dúvida, alguma questão, quiserem participar, essas são as figuras que fazem isso tudo acontecer, né, Prof. Ana? Those are the people that are working with us and that they made everything that's happening here. So what we are presenting today and tomorrow is because of them also. So thank you all of you. Thank you also for our translator, Danny and Daniel and Eduardo. Yes? So Cássio e Vitor, valeu pela força aí também. A Mai também, obrigado pelo apoio. And thank you also, Professor Asdrubal, for the opportunity to have our second International Week of Resilient Cities inside the International Week. I think it's very good for us and for the university. And also, I want to thank you, Simone, for your participation here. And if you want to give a few words to finish, then we can finish the presentation. Thank you.
Yes, as I said at the beginning, I'm really happy to be here as a colleague from the University of Siena for living labs and research and everything, but I'm also proud of being here as Italian because I feel this really strictly, very, very strong feeling with a very high number of people that tell me that as families that comes from Italy, and so this is something that I feel it seems to me to be in a big family here in Caxias do Sul. So thank you very much also for the warm welcome that you deserve to me. Thank you very much again.
Acho que a Maiara também quero agradecer a todos que estão aqui, os que vieram, que puderam participar, que ficaram até agora. Muito obrigado pela vinda de todos, pela participação de todos. E passo a palavra para a Maiara, então, para fazer a finalização.
Agradecemos à professora Ana e ao professor Rafael pela mediação e ao professor doutor Simone Cresti pelas experiências compartilhadas. Na tela, disponibilizaremos o QR Code para confirmação de presença. E convidamos o reitor da UX, professor doutor Asdrubal Falavigna, o nosso chefe de gabinete, professor Givanildo Garlet, e também a diretora da área de Conhecimento de Exatas e Engenharias, para fazerem a entrega de uma lembrança ao painelista como forma de agradecimento. Agradecemos a presença de todos e convidamos a participarem amanhã do último dia da programação da International Week 2026. Boa noite.